Hello everyone. We are back with another Mixology Masterclass. Hello, hi Celine. Hello. I'm so glad you guys are joining us tonight because tonight we have a delicious cocktail that we're mixing up. Hello, welcome. Come and join us. Come and make a cocktail with us. Welcome. Hi. Hello. On behalf of the Sobrii Zero Spirits team, we welcome you to another Mixology Masterclass right here on Instagram Live. My name is Deandra. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a part of the Sobrii team and I do marketing and mixology for Sobrii. And tonight, like I said, we have a delicious cocktail. This one's called the Orange Creamsicle. And yes, before you ask, it does taste like an orange creamsicle. This one was designed by our friend Jess Morton at bartender.morton. So if you would like to join us tonight and make this orange creamsicle cocktail, please do. I'm going to give you a list of ingredients shortly. Welcome for those of you just joining us. So this cocktail, the Orange Creamsicle Cocktail, is going to be a perfect cocktail for you to sip on at the cottage. It could be a dessert cocktail. It's a great spring cocktail, summer cocktail. It's really fun. So I'm really excited to dive into this one. So let me give you a list of ingredients so that you can get prepared before we get started, because it's super easy to mix up at home. You can find all of these ingredients in your grocery store, aside from Sobrii Zero Gin, of course. You can get that from us online at sobrii.ca, but all of the rest of the items you can find at your grocery store. So what you're going to need for this cocktail is Sobrii Zero Gin for tonight. If you have that at home, that's amazing. Then you'll need orange juice. So I've got a little bit of orange juice here, freshly squeezed. Doesn't have to be freshly squeezed, don't worry about that. Then you will need coconut milk. Now, if you don't have coconut milk at home right now, you can easily find it at the grocery store, but you can always substitute it for milk for right now. But we do recommend coconut milk. It just goes really well with the flavor. But don't fret, you can use your regular milk at home. Now you will also need vanilla syrup. And if you don't have this at home, don't worry, because we're going to be mixing it up tonight. So I'm going to show you exactly how to make it. And it's a lot easier than you think. So anytime you hear like vanilla syrup or orange syrup, it's actually quite simple. It's just vanilla extract mixed with the syrup. So I'll show you how to make that in just a minute. But for that specifically, you will need sugar, water, and vanilla extract, okay, to make your vanilla syrup. All right? Okay, so let's recap really quickly. Sobrii Zero Gin, orange juice, coconut milk, vanilla syrup, which is sugar, water, and vanilla extract. And finally, you will need club soda. Okay, so soda water, sparkling water, it all works. Okay, welcome everyone. We're going to be making the Orange Creamsicle non-alcoholic cocktail tonight, so I hope you are able to join us and follow along, because this cocktail, like I said, is absolutely delicious. Invented by our friend Jess Morton, and honestly, I was blown away by how similar it is to an orange creamsicle. Okay. So as you guys are preparing all the items you need for this cocktail, I do also want to mention there's some equipment that you'll need. For this cocktail, you will need a shaker. We're going to be shaking this cocktail. So if you have a shaker at home, pull out your shaker. If you don't, you can always use a mason jar for a shaker. It works really well. You've got the top on it. You can shake your cocktail in the jar and then use the lid to act as your strainer. So I have a Hawthorne strainer here, which will that's what we'll be using tonight, but you can just use the lid on that mason jar. So don't worry if you don't have a shaker on hand. Okay. You might need a spoon if you're mixing up your vanilla syrup tonight, so a spoon will come in handy. And for the glassware that we're going to be serving this cocktail in, it's going to be a Collins glass. And if you don't know what a Collins glass is, it is a tall glass that is relatively thin and it's straight. So it doesn't bow out at all like your regular highball glass. It's just straight. So I'm sure you have one of those in your kitchen. If you don't, just find a tall glass that works just fine. And at the end, we're going to add just a funky straw to our cocktail. You don't have to, but I think it looks really nice with the cocktail. Okay, so quickly review for those of you who are in the kitchen grabbing your things. You need Sobrii Zero Gin, orange juice, coconut milk, vanilla syrup, which is sugar, water, and vanilla extract, and soda water. Okay? So before we dive in, I just want to share a little bit more about Sobrii Zero Gin. This is our very first product on the market, and we're very, very proud of it. We actually took Sobrii Zero Gin into Dragon's Den, and all of the dragons loved our non-alcoholic cocktail that we made for them. And so we're very, very proud of that. And the whole reason that Sobrii came about was because the creator of Sobrii himself, he loved cocktails, but hated hangovers. So I'm sure a lot of you guys can agree, and you enjoy your cocktail, but the next morning is not so fun. So, you know, he was tired of hangovers, but he didn't want to give up cocktails. And unfortunately, when he went into different bars and restaurants at the time, there wasn't many options other than pop or soda or water or juice. And it's not very sophisticated to order an orange juice or ginger ale or a water when everyone else is having a nice fancy cocktail. So being able to partake and enjoy the ritual of having a cocktail is wonderful, so long as you have something to mix it with. Because he took a look at some of the other products on the market and they just didn't have that strong flavor profile that really replicated the familiarity of a cocktail. So he sought out to build a product that offered that strong flavor profile. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in just a minute. But I do want to remind you that Sobrii Zero Gin is not necessarily meant for taking shots. And the reason for that is because we've built a very strong flavor profile that really gives you, you know, that kick inside your cocktail. So when you have it as a shot, it can be very, very overwhelming. So we don't really recommend that. Now, Sobrii Zero Gin is distilled like any other gin on the market. Like, we go through that distillation process and we use classic gin botanicals. So if you look at your bottle of Sobrii Zero Gin, or even on the tequila, you'll see what botanicals are used to help flavor the product. And so you'll see on there juniper, coriander, star anise, allspice, and ginseng. Now, for those of you who don't know what those are, I just want to show you visually what those things look like. So first, of course, is juniper. And for those of you who know your spirits, you'll know that you cannot legally call a gin without juniper. So juniper is a key component in gin. So I'm going to show you what the juniper berries look like. You can see that. That's what they look like. I wish you could smell them. Wish you were here. You could smell them to get those nice juniper and citrusy notes. And what I also wish you could do, if you ever find yourself in this situation at home, you can smell the juniper berry and just sniff the product to see if you can recognize the juniper berry inside the product. All right, so that's juniper berry, a very important ingredient. And of course, being a non-alcoholic gin, we wanted to use those classic gin botanicals to give you a familiar gin experience, so that anytime you're enjoying a gin cocktail, you can just swap out Sobrii Zero Gin for your regular gin, so that you cancel out that hangover, but still enjoy something that tastes similar. Okay, so botanical number 2 is your coriander seed. So I'm going to show you what that smells like. Or what that looks like. Sorry, I know you can't smell it here. But very small seeds. Yeah. And they give you like an earthy, like peppery note. So I guess a tiny little bit of spice it adds to the product. All right. That's botanical number 2. Number 3 is your star anise. So surprisingly, this little guy right here actually gives off that licorice flavor. Interesting, right? So there's some subtle licorice notes in Sobrii Zero Gin, but that comes from this botanical here, star anise, and it gets its name because it looks like a star. All right. Okay, and next, this is one of my favorites. It's called allspice. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of allspice, but let me show you what that looks like. That's your allspice. So allspice tastes like and smells like multiple different spices. So it smells and tastes like clove, cinnamon, and nutmeg. And so that the reason, because it tastes like and smells like so many different botanicals, that's where it gets its name, allspice. So it's sort of an all of the above spice. So in Sobrii Zero Gin, it gives off fruity notes, earthy notes, some bitter notes. It adds a lot to the product. And last but not least is our Canadian ginseng. So you've seen ginseng before. And what ginseng does for us, it gives us a lot of bitterness. And what that does for your actual cocktail is adds that little bit of bitterness and heat, so that when you're drinking the cocktail, where you would normally expect that little bit of burn from the alcohol, this ginseng plays that role. It kind of fills in that gap because you're not getting that alcohol burn from a non-alcoholic product. It's just simply not there. So this is our way to add a little bit of bitterness and replicate that little bit of burn when you're drinking the cocktail. So yeah, if there are any questions about any of the botanicals, or if you want me to show you any, just let me know in the chat. But those are our 5 botanicals used to make Sobrii Zero Gin. Hello. For those of you just joining us, we are making an Orange Creamsicle Cocktail, and we're actually going to dive in right about now. So, what you guys are going to need is your shaker. Okay, we're going to start with our shaker. We're going to be adding our ingredients right to our shaker. But first things first, you need ice. So you want to put some ice cubes in the bottom of your shaker, okay? I've got my little ice box right here. I'm so excited for you guys to try this cocktail. It's absolutely delicious. It makes a great dessert, trust me. All right, actually that's enough ice. Those cubes are on the large side. All right. So hopefully you've got your ice in your shaker. And first things first, of course, Sobrii Zero Gin. That's going right in the shaker. If you have a jigger at home, this comes in handy when you're mixing up your cocktails. Remember, cocktails are all about ratios, so measuring out different components is very, very important. Making sure you have the right balance between all of the different ingredients. So a jigger, which is something that you can find on our website, it's at sobrii.ca. We have this really fancy rose gold bell jigger, which is really, really convenient. But if you have one at home, that works out really, really well. Most jiggers, at the bottom, the smaller bell here, or the smaller bowl, is 1 ounce, and the larger bowl is 2 ounces. And the great thing about ours is there are also measurement lines on the inside, which it's going to be quite difficult to see. Maybe you can see some lines on the inside there. That indicates your 1/4 ounce, your 1/2 ounce, and your 3/4 of an ounce. So that's really, really helpful when you need smaller measurements. So I definitely recommend one of these. For those of you who don't have one of these at home and you're using a shot glass to measure, keep in mind that most shot glasses are 1.5 ounces. So keep that in mind and try to measure where you need to when you're pouring your cocktails. So luckily, we are pouring 1.5 ounces of Sobrii Zero Gin into our jigger. So if you've got a shot glass, fill the shot glass and pour it in. And guys, feel free to ask questions at any point in time. I will try to spot them and answer them. All right, so I just poured 1.5 ounces of Sobrii Zero Gin into our shaker. Okay. So everyone's all caught up. Amazing. Okay, so next is going to be the coconut milk. Okay. So like I said, if you guys have just milk at home, that's fine as a substitute. I do recommend the coconut milk. The flavor works really, really well. But for the coconut milk, you're going to pour 2 ounces into your shaker. So for those of you who have a jigger, you can fill the top bowl. And for those of you who are using a shot glass, you're going to fill the shot glass and then add a little bit more. Okay, this is looking good. And next is our orange juice. Okay, so 2 ounces of orange juice. So same thing we did for the coconut milk. Oops. Got a lot of pulp in mine. It's okay. Okay. So we've got our Sobrii Zero Gin, our coconut milk, and our orange juice. The next ingredient is our vanilla syrup. And I promised I was going to show you how to make that. So let me just put this aside as we make our vanilla syrup. And like I said, sometimes syrups scare people because they feel like they have to run out and get vanilla syrup. And it's really, really easy to make at home. So like I said, anytime you see like a certain flavor syrup, it's really simple syrup infused with whatever that flavor is. And simple syrup is simply 1 part water, 1 part sugar. So if you're using half a cup of sugar, you use half a cup of water, mix it together. And that's simple syrup. Makes it easier if you warm up the water because it just makes the sugar dissolve faster. But you don't have to. You can try and mix it. And then just add a teaspoon of whatever the extract is. So if it's vanilla extract, orange extract, or whatever else the flavor is. So I have already pre-portioned out 2 equal parts of sugar and water. So I'm going to go ahead and mix them together. So if you're working on this at home, you can do half a cup of sugar and half a cup of water to make your syrup. And you're going to want to start mixing that together. Like I said, it's a lot easier when the water is warm. It makes it dissolve much quicker. But right now my water is only room temperature. So it might take a little bit more for it to dissolve. Now also, I've got my simple syrup mixing here. But I'm also going to add, in order to make it vanilla syrup, I'm going to add my vanilla extract. And you can get this at the grocery store. I think I got this from No Frills. Just Clubhouse brand. And it's pure vanilla extract. So I'm just going to add a spoon of that. Oh. I left the label on here. Okay. Alright, so you can see it's given us that brown color now. So you can keep on mixing that. It will take a while because the water's not warm. However, I do have some vanilla syrup already prepared here. If we can't get this mixed in time. How are you guys doing? How much vanilla? So a teaspoon. I'm glad you guys are following along. Yes, just a teaspoon of the vanilla extract with your half cup of sugar and half cup of water. Now, it's also a preference. Like, you could add a little bit more if you like a stronger syrup, but I would recommend just the teaspoon. So normally what I would do is actually boil the water and then add the sugar, and then I would let it cool. I find that much easier instead of having to stir it so much. But as you can see, it's starting to become a little bit more syrupy. Any questions? For those of you just joining us, we're making an orange creamsicle cocktail. It's a delicious cocktail for spring and summer. All right, so I hope you guys are caught up. My syrup is almost done here. So probably we'll give it 1 more minute so that way I can use the one that I just created right now instead of using my prepped syrup. And again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Or for those of you watching the recording, do let us know, send us an email or comment on the post, and we will get back to you. Okay, my syrup is looking good now. All right. Okay, so hopefully your vanilla syrup is ready to go. So now you know how to make syrup at home. Very, very easy, so don't get intimidated the next time you see a cocktail recipe and it calls for syrup, because you can make that right at home. Okay, so we're going to need our shaker again. So now we can add our vanilla syrup. So we need 3/4 of an ounce of the vanilla syrup. And luckily, on our jigger, if you have the Sobrii jigger, there's a line on the smaller bowl, which indicates your 3/4 of an ounce, or your 0.75 ounces. So I'm just going to fill that up to that line and pour that in my shaker. All right. If you guys are following along and you made your vanilla syrup, I'm really proud of you so far. It's time to shake now. All right, so if you're using a mason jar, just close the top tightly. Remember, we're not adding, I know we still have our club soda, but we don't want to add that to our shaker. You never want to add carbonated ingredients into your shaker, because it can, well, you know, blow the shaker. If you're using a jar, it can actually crack the jar. If you shake it enough and it creates enough pressure, it can crack the jar. So you never ever want to use carbonated products in your shaker. Usually they're stirred or used to top. So that's why we've left out the club soda. Okay? So if you're using one of these shakers, just shake it with a rolling motion like this. And you're going to shake it. So right now you can see the reflection in my shaker. Basically, once it all becomes frosted and it becomes really cold to the touch, that's when you're done. And it's about 15 seconds or so. Okay, so you can see that it's all frosted now, aside from my handprints there. See that it's all frosted, so it's ready to go. Okay. So I'm running out of space here. Okay, so you're going to grab your Collins glass now, and we're going to strain this right into the glass. So if you've got one of these Hawthorne strainers, just put that right on top of your shaker. If you're using a shaker with a built-in strainer, even better. Really, really easy for you. And if you're using the mason jar, use that lid to hold back the ice. Essentially, you're just holding back the ice and any large particles. All right. So you should have about half of your glass full at this point, which is exactly what we want. You guys are doing okay. And it's time to add that final ingredient. So if you've got that club soda handy, I've just got a can of club soda or sparkling water. Now what's going to happen is, as we pour the club soda, it's going to interact with the coconut milk, and it's going to create a really nice froth in the glass. So you'll see, I'm going to show you here. So you're seeing that froth? It's a little bit bright, but I'm hoping you can see it if I pull it back maybe. Yeah, look at that nice head. Look at that. Looks delicious. And the only thing you need now is to add your funky straw. So you can plop that in there, and that's your Orange Creamsicle Cocktail. That's it. So look how easy that was, and it is absolutely delicious. Let's taste it. And it tastes like an orange creamsicle. It's an absolutely delicious cocktail, so thank you so much to Jess Morton who created this. Absolutely delicious. It's great for spring and summer. It's actually great as a dessert. So instead of having an orange creamsicle popsicle, you can have one of these and enjoy this. So it's very, very easy to make. Like I said, all these ingredients are in your grocery store. It does taste like an orange creamsicle. Yes, see, I told you, it's absolutely delicious. So I'm so happy and I'm so excited to have been able to share this with you, and also to share a little bit more about Sobrii Zero Gin. There's so many possibilities It is so versatile, and you can swap in Sobrii Zero Gin for any of your favorite gin cocktails to cut out the hangover. So thank you so much for joining me tonight at our Mixology Masterclass. I just want to check in to see if anyone has any questions for me before we leave. Feel free to plop them in the chat. For those of you who are watching the recording, feel free to post any questions in the comments. We will get back to you, or slide into our DMs. We will get back to you as well. And if not, I want to thank you guys so much for following along at home and enjoying this delicious cocktail. So cheers to you guys. I'll see you next month on the Sobrii Mixology Masterclass right here on Instagram Live. Good night, everyone.